Hey, what is going on, crypto people? Listen, Ripple Prime is opening collateralized lending for XRP and onboarding more institutional traders. That means holders on one side and flow on the other. Tonight, I'll show you how that turns into velocity and why velocity reprices the asset. Let's get into it. Man, oh man, what an exciting time to be early adopting this new asset class that is the digital asset space. I'm telling you, my friends, you and I, we're playing a game that 99.99% of the masses, they don't even know it's being played. And we are freaking winning. This news from Ripple, I'm just going to tell you, if you're not getting it, you're not understanding the bigger picture. Don't be listening to the Wolf of Wall Street's engagement farming. Don't fall for it. You have to know what it is that you hold, fam. You have to know what it is that you hold. You understand? You have to know that you know that you know what you hold. Happy freaking, is it Generational Wealth Wednesday? Is it Tuesday? I don't have no, I'm like, sometimes I'll just, it's Wednesday. Happy Generational Wealth Wednesday to each and every one of you. Ripple Swell's going on. That's some awesome stuff over there. But this recent news from Ripple in this article, this blog post, listen, if you don't know, you should really ask someone. Don't fall for the Wolf of All Street's engagement farming post. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. I hope you guys understand that. He's a content creator. And he's a smart guy. Okay. Anyone with his smarts could seriously find out the genius behind Ripple's acquisitions and what they're looking to do. Anyone could do it. If he really wanted to, he could do it. But he doesn't want to. He wants to use the community for engagement farming, right? And continue to be a Bitcoin maxi. That's what he really wants to do. And that's completely up to him. No, it's different guy, right? It's completely up to him. I mean, he can do that, right? Right? He can do that. That's what he's doing. You just got to understand what it is that he's doing. Stop getting upset, trying to defend. Why are you trying to? If you know what you hold, why you don't have to defend anything if you know what you hold. What's going on, Mr. XRP All In? How are you, bro? How are you doing, my bro? Well, it all depends. If we're talking about my New York Football Giants, I'm not doing well, bro. I am not doing well. But if you're talking about the digital asset space, XRP holders, FLR holders, Solana holders, Bitcoin holders, Ethereum holders, I'm doing outstanding, bro. Thanks for asking. What's going on, Hydro? How are you, my friend? Appreciate you checking in, sir. Guys, do me a favor, hit that like button on the way in. You know how we do? We always like to have just as many likes as we got viewers in the stream. We're in a mad dash. We're going to set a goal now for 10,000 subs. Let's make that happen. 10K subs this month. Let's make it happen. Spread the word out. Do me a favor and repost this live stream on X. That'd be really, really cool. Do me a favor and answer this question. Do you know what it is that you hold as an XRP holder? Yay or nay? Yay or nay? Please comment in the chat, in the comments if you're watching this on repeat. Do you know what it is that you hold in XRP? Do you know what that means to hold this asset? Yay or nay? Come on, family. Mr. XRP all in said me either. Me neither. Talking about this New York Football Giants. That's right. I admit it. I'm a New York Football Giants fan. I know it's tough. It's brutal. My son calls me all the time, giving me a hard time because he's an Eagles fan. Daniel R. Smith is in the building. What's going on, bro? How are you? Brother Crypto's in the building. CJ, how's it going, man? Life is great, bro. Appreciate you checking in. Appreciate your love on X during my little difficult time. I appreciate that, sir. It's all about the scheme, Mr. XRP All In. That defensive scheme is garbage. We need, there's two types of coaches, two types of coordinators, two types of coaches. There's a coach or a coordinator in all sports who comes in and says, "This is my scheme and my plan," and you, the players, have to adjust to it. And then there's the geniuses in coaching and coordinators who say, "I'm going to adjust my plan or scheme to the players that I have." And that DC coordinator guy, whatever his name is, Shane Bowen, is not that dude. He's not that dude, unfortunately, because the talent on the defensive end is there. I promise you, it is there. But that scheme is brutal. It's not working. It doesn't. It doesn't capitalize on the strengths of the players that it has that we have. So listen, let me get into enough about this football talk. You guys are here to figure out what's going on with this velocity and why does the velocity reprice the asset. People are not quite understanding it. So I'm going to try and explain a little bit more. See if we can get it. Brother Crystal says that's what happened in Detroit. Yeah, yeah. That's exactly right. You got to adapt to the talent of the players, man. You got to figure it out. That's why you're a coach, man. That's why you're a coordinator. That's why, come on, bro. The talent is there. The scheme is broken. It's not great. I mean, look what Wink Martindale did with less talent and arguably less talent. No Burns, no Abdul Carter. I mean, anyway, all right, let me get to this. Let me get to this article. So, where should I start? Let's start with this article that's coming from Ripple. Everyone thinks it's about some valuation. Let me do this. Let me do Michael Arrington's post first. Let me do this Michael Arrington post so you guys can see what's good. Did I share the right way? Okay, let me change this share for a second. Let's share again. How did I share? Let's do this. Yeah. Applications window. Let's go to Michael Arrington's post. I mean, yeah, I hope you understand. Michael Arrington reposts this post from Brad Garlinghouse. This is what Brad Garlinghouse had to say. With today's close of Hidden Road, which is now called Ripple Prime, Ripple has announced 5 major acquisitions in 2 years. G Treasury last week, Rail in August, Standard Custody 2024, Medico in 2023. As we continue to build solutions towards enabling an internet of value, I'm reminding you all that XRP sits at the center of everything Ripple does. Lock in. So this little post here thing today from Michael Arrington says, repost of Brad Garlinghouse's post. I don't think very many people understand, like the Wolf of Wall Street and his recent guest, I don't think very many people understand how big of a deal Ripple Prime is. It's not only going to be a huge business, it gives hedge funds like us unparalleled new tools to engage with markets. Getting onboarded has been one of our highest priorities at Arrington Capital for the last few months. And I'm telling you right now, there is a line all the way to the back of the building for this onboarding. If you understand how markets work, if you understand how institutions think. And because of the acquisition of Ripple Prime, Ripple has opened the door for having this stuff. done on the XRPL. It's a big deal. People don't understand it. Why would we understand it? We didn't grow up in these circles. We weren't taught this type of stuff, how institutions think and act. Only people in the space would know the significance of the recent acquisitions by Ripple. Only people in the space would understand it truly. And there's some in the space who still don't understand it. So let's go over this article real quick. Ripple announces a $500 million strategic investment led. $500 million. Led by Fortress and Citadel Securities, valuing the company at $40 billion following record growth. So I'm going to go through this real quick. This is really not the real big point, but what it should say to you is why institutions doing that. Why a $500 million raise? What do they see that you and I's retail is not seeing? Ripple, the leading financial technology company that offers crypto solutions for businesses, today announced a $500 million strategic investment at a $40 billion valuation from world-class institutional investors, led by funds managed by affiliates of Fortress Investment Group, Citadel Securities, Pantera Capital, Galaxy Digital, Brevin Howard, and Marshall Wace. The investment follows Ripple's strongest year to date and its recent $1 billion tender offer at the same valuation, underscoring continued confidence in the company's growth trajectory and long-term vision. Looks like the Bank to the Future guy has got another winner, Simon Dixon, smart guy. As Ripple continues its record year of growth, providing liquidity for shareholders and employees remains a priority. Try to tell you guys, try to tell you. That is the priority. It's a fiduciary responsibility. It has to be. It doesn't mean that they don't value the asset XRP. Doesn't mean that. Why would they not value the asset XRP when they got tons of it? Of course, they value the asset. It doesn't mean their moves are XRP holders centric necessarily. So a lot of the shareholders don't own any XRP, like Simon Dixon, major shareholder in Ripple, Coinbase, Kraken, just to name a few. He doesn't have a single XRP. Not a single one. You understand the difference? So as Ripple continues its record growth of providing liquidity for shareholders and employees remains a priority. The company has repurchased more than 25% of its outstanding shares in recent years, returning meaningful value to employees and early investors. How else would Evernorth get started? Its most recent tender offer attracted significant interest from institutional investors. Significant interest from institutional investors eager to join Ripple's cap table. The decision to accept $500 million in new common equity reflects the strategic value of deepening relationships with financial partners whose expertise complements Ripple's expanding global suite of products. You know, for me, all I see in most of this is there's a group of investors who see that one day Ripple, along with some others in this space, will be trillion-dollar businesses. Trillion with a T. That's, to me, that's what that says. Right? Interesting. The decision to accept $500 million in new common equity reflects the strategic value of deepening relationships with financial partners whose expertise complements Ripple's expanding global suite of products. This investment reflects both Ripple's incredible momentum and further validation of the market opportunity we're aggressively pursuing by some of the most trusted financial institutions in the world, said Brad Garlinghouse, the Ripple CEO. We started in 2012 with one use case, payments, and have expanded that success into custody, stablecoins, prime brokerage, and corporate treasury. Leveraging digital assets like XRP. Today, Ripple stands as the partner for institutions to access crypto and blockchain. In just over 2 years, Ripple completed 6 acquisitions, including 2 valued at over $1 billion, expanding its footprint across payments, custody, and stablecoins while entering new markets in prime brokerage and treasury management. Like my guy Jungle Inc. says, Ripple is the largest digital asset treasury company in the world. Payments have quickly become one of the most practical and scalable applications of crypto. Earlier this year, the company acquired stablecoin infrastructure company Rail, adding capabilities to Ripple Payments as a full-service cross-border platform, using RLUSD and XRP to make global money movement faster and more efficient for businesses. With 75 regulatory licenses, Ripple can move money on behalf of its customers, cutting out intermediaries and simplifying liquidity management and on and off ramps. Like this on and off ramps thing is going to be a big deal. Ripple is making sure that the heart and center of it all. Total Ripple payment volumes have now surpassed $95 billion, a clear sign of growing demand and real-world utility. In a post-Genius Act world, institutions are increasingly turning to trusted stablecoins like Ripple Dollar for use cases such as treasury payments and collateral, a key reason why Ripple acquired G Treasury in October. G Treasury manages trillions of dollars of volume for its Fortune 500 customers who are keen to use stablecoins. Trillions of dollars. Ripple owns that now. Who are keen to use stablecoins and digital assets to move money 24/7, 365 days a year, and put that idle capital to work. Key statement there. Just this week, the Ripple Dollar crossed $1 billion in market cap in less than a year since its launch. Ripple also recently completed its acquisition of Hidden Road, now known as Ripple Prime, where RUSD, the Ripple Dollar stablecoin, is already in use as collateral. Since the deal was announced, client collateral has doubled. Average daily transactions have climbed to more than 60 million daily. And the business has tripled in size. Ripple Prime is now expanding into, and this is the reason, the inspiration for my live stream today. Ripple Prime is now expanding into collateralized lending for XRP. And supporting a rapidly growing base of institutions trading XRP-based products. The final peg in the wheel for me was Evernorth and the creation of that thing. That was the final peg, final piece to the puzzle. Let me find my thing here. My little conversation back and forth with, my partner in crime, ChatGPT. I'm going to share some of my thoughts with you. Especially the velocity flywheel, especially the velocity flywheel. It's important. Let me find it first. There it is. My conversation starter. Right, yeah, it is. There it is. All right, let me welcome some more people to the stream now that I found where I want to go next. What's going on, Matt LaRoche? How are you, bro? Appreciate you checking in, sir. Guys, do me a favor, hit that like button on the way in. That'd be awesome. The reason why I share this because this is about the asset holders, which is the end user is the asset holder. In business, it is about the end user. Always. In crypto, the end user is the asset holder. As XRP holders, we are the end user. As FLR holders, we are the end users. And you know what we say on this channel, go to where your assets are treated best. David Smith retracted. Okay. Carl Billis is in the building. What's going on, bro? Carl Billy's says, did we figure out what the black box was? Can anyone tell me? I think I mentioned this on X. I think that's um, um, the Midas people. I think it's Midas. I don't. I mean, there's Doppler, there's Strobe, there's Midas. I don't think it's Strobe. Doppler has said that it is, you know, in so many words, it's not them. It's the only one left. Only one left. Only one left is the thing that I was sounding the alarms about, which is Midas, that offshore thing. Matt LaRose says, morning, May. Hope you're going okay. Life is good. Life is good. Matt, appreciate you checking in, sir. I did some prompting of ChatGPT and the bigger picture puzzle pieces. I asked, what holes need to be plugged still for it to be the complete solution for Wall Street institutions, et cetera? Who would the need? Who would they need to acquire? Securitized was one of them. Yep, I can see that. I think they invested in Securitized, right? So Hydro, no, the Go Baby Trader. No, I have not looked into that yet, bro. I need to make a mental note to check into that. So the Ripple announcement to me wasn't about the valuation. You know, this new fundraise. You know, for me, that means institutions are clearly seeing that Ripple will one day be $1 trillion company, unlike or similar to Apple and Nvidia, right? $1 trillion company. I hope and pray that the people from the link to debacle will be able to get their actual shares and be able to actually own the share of Ripple. I hope and pray that they do. So let me share this little back and forth with ChatGPT because the velocity is important. Collateral demand is important for XRP. Important. Velocity is the reprice. Velocity reprices this asset. If you understand this. Let's go here. Let's go there. Look back and forth. I asked. I said, and also, what does this mean for the XRPL? Given that Ripple, the company, has now purchased Hidden Road, renamed it to Ripple Prime, it looks as though, this is me, my prompting and asking, it looks as though these new moves will actually be done on the XRPL. What could this mean in terms of network adoption? Metcalfe's law. What does this mean? Or what could this mean for the XRPL in its journey of going up and to the right of the network adoption curve in Metcalfe's law? ChatGPT said, love this question. If Ripple Prime starts routing real activity on the XRPL, you get classic network effects. Classic network effects math. Every new institutional participant doesn't just add one unit of activity, they create new pairs of possible interactions. That's Metcalfe's law. Let me say this again from the blog post. Ripple Prime is now expanding into collateralized lending for XRP and supporting a rapidly growing base of institutions trading XRP-based products. This is what ChatGPT is saying. They create new pairs, these institutions, institutional participants, create new pairs of possible interactions. That's Metcalfe Law 101. Here's what that could mean concretely. How Ripple Prime activity could push the XRPL up and to the right. More counterparties equals more pairs, more flow. That's Metcalfe's law. Each added treasury, broker, or market maker, for example, increases the number of possible trading settlement pairs on the XRPL. In parentheses, AMM pools, IOUs, Ripple dollar corridors, FXRP bridges, just to name a few. The value of the network scales in squared as participants on board. This typically shows up first as tighter spreads and shallower slippage for the same clip size. Number two, structural holding demand on ledger. This was the selling point, in my view, that Ripple had to make to the board members. You know, you got to go through the board for stuff, right? They have to go through their board, right? This was the selling. This was the pitch. All right. If XRP becomes eligible collateral for prime financing and credit lines, what do you think this lending protocol is about that Ripple's building? This is XLX 66D, I believe. If XRP becomes eligible collateral for prime financing and credit lines, desks hold working balances on or immediately accessible to the XRPL. Those buffers shrink the effective float, and raise the stickiness of any price repricing. Number three is the velocity flywheel. Ripple Prime unlocks reuse, spot, perps, hedges, back and forth, perpetual hedges, borrow, lend, automated market maker LPing, issuance / settlement of Ripple dollar, and IOUs. More turns per unit of XRP equals higher throughput, which equals stronger case for treasuries to keep balances on the XRPL. You understand? I'm going to expand on this velocity flywheel here in a second, and the counter argument to the reuse of the same XRP and the misunderstanding around it. Liquidity externalities on the XRPL DEX slant the automated market maker. As professional desk quote on XRPL's order book plus the AMM, the depth should increase and arbitrage latencies drop. Better execution begets more flow. Routing engines, aggregators, notice, improving the price discovery role of the XRPL itself. This is what the institutions clearly understand. Clearly, they understand this. Compliance rail drives adoption. Number 5. With Treasury software like G-Treasury style controls, DID credentials, permissioned domains, and stablecoin Ripple dollar rails. Notice that I didn't have to mention all of that stuff in my prompt. ChatGPT knew about all this stuff already. And stablecoin Ripple dollar rails, risk committees can actually sign off. Approval, pilots, SOPs, recurring volume, not one-offs. Not one-offs. Now, I'm going to welcome some more people to the stream before I go further into this velocity flywheel, because I know that's why you guys are all here, because of the repricing of this asset, because of velocity, repricing of XRP. Alex Sheets in the building. What's good? How are you, bro? Appreciate you checking in, sir. One moon. Yeah, I know. All right. So let's go over this further into this velocity flywheel. Oh, maybe not. Let's see. Let me see. What to watch. Let's go over this what to watch first. XRPL transactions per day and average transactions and accounts. The DEX and the AMM volume, AMM TVL and the pool count, bridge uses, payment throughputs, etc. Participants. Keep an eye on that as well. Active institutional accounts, new trust lines, issue currencies, cost and reliability. Okay. Capital market tie-ins, borrow, lend, utilization for XRP. Important. Ripple Prime plus venues. So adoption curves, most likely the base case, Ripple Prime onboards a steady trickle of desk. The XRPL DEX AMM depth improves, or the Ripple dollar stablecoin corridors go live in a few regions. All right, so there's that. I said, let's see. I said, that's perfect. Thank you. Can you tell me more about the velocity flywheel? Can you expand on number 3 a little bit more for me as well? I mean, number 3, the velocity flywheel. Can you tell me more about that so I can share some of that maybe on X? Love it. Here's a crisp, reusable breakdown of velocity flywheel you can drop on or riff on live. What is velocity in our context? Velocity equals how many times one unit of XRP gets reused per period. It's important to understand that. Settlement, hedging, lending, LPing. How many times one unit of XRP gets reused? Higher velocity equals more economic work per coin, which tightens floats and supports a higher, stickier price base. Not the other way around. I remember the scuttlebutt back in the day about, well, they could just keep using that same XRP. Why do they need to hold more XRP? All that. Remember that? Remember that, Alex Sheet? The velocity flywheel step by step. Collateral eligibility leads to buffers form. When Ripple Prime lets you post XRP as collateral, professional desks keep working balances. Effective float shrinks. Ripple Prime access begets more uses per coin. Credit plus BEST or X plus clearing unlocks the spot or perpetuals, which leads to borrow to lend and LPs. You see how they have you just go back and forth. More reuse of the asset. The same XRP turns more times. Borrow lend markets deepen. Stable borrow rates plus high utilization equals cheaper hedging, inviting more strategies that need XRP inventory. I'm telling you, this is a reason for the lending protocol being built out and why they wanted to build it out. It's important. You got policy approvals and disclosures. As rails prove reliable, risk committees approve ongoing use. More treasuries join, holding buffers expand. Here's the reflexive loop. The buffers go up, plus velocity increases, which gives you pricing re-anchors. The price re-anchors, which leads to even easier approvals, regulatory, which leads to more participants, which go back to step one. There's a formula, according to ChatGPT. Price base, I don't know what that symbol is. Is that an infinite symbol? I don't know. Price space, velocity times liquidity depth times holding demand is the formula. This is the thing that, that dude from way back yonder, I forget his name. I don't know if it was the 589 guy. Maybe it was him. Velocity reprices the asset. Collateral eligibility creates holders, new holders. Ripple Prime access creates the reuse of this XRP. As XRP gets posted, borrowed, hedged, and liquidity provided across desks, buffers grow, and the same units turns more times. Depth improves, spreads tighten, approvals accelerate, price re-anchors. Price chases plumbing. This is what Ripple has figured out and has decided to set the plumbing. Ripple has set the plumbing. Price chases the plumbing. That is what Ripple figured out. That's what they figured out. Their own plumbing, not the bank's plumbing. Create their own plumbing. Do it on chain. 2.5 years ago, they discovered that the move was on chain, not off chain, running around with this carrot, trying to tease banks with a solution that they weren't interested in. Build the plumbing on chain. Provide a better service than the off chain madness, and the institutions will come. If you build it, they will come. This is why the banks were in an uproar about Ripple, Coinbase, whoever was out there trying to get these banking licenses. This is why, because it's a new day. It's a new sheriff in town. The banking lobby is pretty powerful, though, so it may be a minute, maybe some stall, some delays. Oh, it's all coming together, but it's coming together on chain. Finally, Ripple has figured that part out. Ripple's figured that part out. And if you don't understand the genius between Flare and Ripple, you should ask someone. It's genius. Which it was just really essentially this. I'm not saying this was a discussion, but it was essentially you handle the rails and the plumbing. We will handle the asset holders. That's what it was essentially. Ripple is going after a giant industry. Players going to make sure the asset holders, institutions, and retail is taken care of. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. Matt LaRoche says MPTs, the multi-purpose tokens on the XRPL, allow all the KYC AML terms, agreements to be in bed, right? Regulatory requirements ticked without question. And more importantly, trust. Indeed. And if you understand what Ripple is going to be doing for the dollar by way of the Ripple dollar, if you understand, let me say this again. If you understand what Ripple is going to be doing for the US dollar by way of the Ripple dollar, Ripple is going to get the approvals needed from this, especially this administration, but from this government. If you understand, it's not replacing the dollar. It's removing the friction in the movement of the dollar. Do you understand that? Just, you can count on another approval after another approval after another approval because it benefits the dollar. Chris Larson's pitch years and years ago, not to replace the dollar, to complement these currencies. That was the pitch. That was the thought. Matt LaRose says, I agree. FLR will win as XRP wins without question. That's without question. There it is, fam. That's the price reset. That's how it's going to happen. So I had a little question for ChatGPT. I said, what about this counter argument made by some that suggests that the reuse of the same asset won't work? I asked ChatGPT, what would you say to the counter argument or the argument that using the same XRP multiple times doesn't create demand for XRP and thus hinders the price reset? Great pushback. The short answer is velocity alone doesn't lift the price. Velocity plus required inventory does. In real markets, using the same XRP multiple times still creates net demand because each reuse requires someone to hold XRP as working capital collateral, as working capital, comma, collateral, comma, liquid inventory. That's the collateral demand that we talked about a few live streams ago when we talked about Evernorth. And those required balances grow with scale and variances of flows. Base inventory isn't zero. Why you reuse does create demand. Base inventory isn't zero. Every desk that settles, makes markets, or lends needs a minimum XRP flow to operate. When participants increase, the sum of base inventory rises, even if each unit turns over faster. The buffers scale with velocities, VAR. Risk teams size operational buffers to a velocity slant variance target. As throughput increases, peak settlement needs and variance rise, which means bigger buffers, which leads to more XRP held, not just recycled. Collateralized haircuts and over collateralization. Price financing against XRP requires some haircuts. Our $100 exposure might need 125, 150 or of XRP posted. The higher the activity, the more collateral sits locked. That is structural demand. Just to name a few of the reason why that argument about the reuse won't help the price reset. So again, it's important to understand that the original vision of the XRP and the XRPL was to make the fiat currencies operate better. And that's what's happening. And the G7 nations are going to be good with it because currently the vast majority of pricing is done in US dollars. All the nations need the dollar to work better. They all need it. G7, G20s, they all need it. They need the dollar to work better. Example, why are people working 2 weeks and waiting 2 weeks to get paid? Why? There is no reason why you can't put in your 8 hours and at the end of that 8 hours, get your pay. And all you simply do is remanage in your brain how that works. What if you came across a discounted price of a valuable asset today on Wednesday, but there was no liquidity available to you until 2 weeks from now? What if that could change for you? You understand? And what if the world is becoming a 24/7, 365 trading desk? And you're having to wait 2 weeks to participate. Two weeks to participate. There's some people out there waiting 30 days. You understand? Matt LaRoche, there it is. Well, getting paid every 8 hours would definitely increase financial velocity. And what is the fiat currency that is most used? The fiat dollar, United States dollar. The better velocity of the dollar is better for all the other G20 nations. Period, point blank, full stop. And if there's an enterprise, if there's a solution to making that happen, the powers that be are going to make it happen. You understand? That's the bottom line. And how do we benefit? We hold the asset that it's the oil, it's the engine to it all. We hold them. Why is that important? Because never in the history of traditional finance have we been first to hold the valuable assets. We've always been secondary and thirdary and fourthary, or not even allowed to hold the assets in a financial system. That's why it's important. That's why this is an opportunity of 4 lifetimes. Because not only were we allowed to hold these assets, we were first to hold these assets. It's a big deal. What's going on, Finn? How are you, bro? It's a big deal. I hope that made sense to you guys. We're blessed. Continue to hodl strong. Continue to hodl strong. Affiliate Network's doing this thing for XRP holders, fully focused. Ripple has finally, in the last 2.5 years, finally decided to move on chain, build the rails around the asset XRP on chain. That is the move, and it has always been the move. It just took them a minute to figure it out. But now they have. This whole idea, oh, just let them choose. And, oh, maybe, come on, man. Remember that? Oh, just let them choose. And if we do, yeah, okay, here's this ledger. You can hop on this thing that can move anything of value in 3 to 5 seconds for less than a penny, or you could hang out on TradFi. We're building it. We got everything you need right here on this monster that can move anything of value in 3 to 5 seconds for less than a penny. Or you could, go through that TradFi thing with a bunch of intermediaries and pay all the fees and deal with T+1 and T+2, whatever they got going on right now. Or you can come here with instant settlement, finality, all that stuff, whatever they call it. You understand? That's the move, fam. That is the move. What is S200 Ray? What's good? What's good? What's good? Hey, CJ, we were right, my man, from day one. That's right. It was the move. Ripple finally figured out, it's been the last 2.5 years. They've been building it out. Build the plumbing, allow it to operate on chain, get all these licenses and all that so institutions can come on chain. Build out this MPT thing, right? Build that out. It's important. But Matt LaRoche mentioned, get the DID, get the credentials, all of it to do it on chain. Carl Billy said, how do we ever find you, Siege? We're blessed, right? It's an important time, but you have to know what it is. You can't be listening to the Wolf of Wall Street. Engagement farming, bringing guests on who have no clue of what's actually being built. Again, the Ripple have to go to the board and say, hey, we figured this thing out. Of course they did. Have a fiduciary responsibility. Of course they did. They did all that fiduciary responsibility stuff. And, those board people and early investors, they are really good. They are really good. You can't just go around acquiring stuff. You got to go through the board, baby. You got to go through the board. You can't show up to the board empty-handed. You gotta show them something. The bigger picture. Someone finally figured it out. Over at Ripple. Someone finally figured it out. I think it'll be pretty cool for people to say they have some Ripple stock. It's gonna be pretty cool. I hope that these LinkedIn people, there's some LinkedIn people with hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. They don't have their hands on right now. Yeah, that's tough. I'm talking about out of their pocket, hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. I'm not talking about the value of the assets. That's even more. So hopefully that debacle, hopefully our guy, John, it's an uphill battle, fam, but hopefully he can salvage that for those holders. Payment XRPs in the building. What's good? What's good, fam? Here and accounted for, sir. What's good? What's good? That's right. That's right, Matt LaRoche. Matt LaRose says, and they didn't go to the board last week just before buying Hidden Row and all the others. This has been in the work for years. Yeah, I'm going to say about 2.5 years. When they figured it out, like, wait a minute. Hmm, hmm. Yeah, well, I think the move is on chain. It's not running around to the banks off chain. I got a solution, but this solution would be great for you. No, bro. That's no. David Schwartz told you. He told us all. He said, banks, they're not really interested in those payment things. No, they're not really interested in the way you want to do payments. They're not interested in killing the goose that lays the golden egg. They call it friction. They're not used to that. They didn't want to get rid of that thing. Good to see you, CJ. It's good to be seen, bro. I appreciate you being here. Pay me an XRP. So this is the word I wanted to share with you guys. Continue to hodl strong. Stop thinking Flare is in competition with Ripple. Stop thinking that the XRPL is in competition with Flare Networks, the layer one EVM chain. They are in different lanes, complementing one another, not competing against one another. That they're not. They're complementing one another. That's right, Matt LaRoche. Walk, Ripple, Ripple back in the day was walking around trying to offer carrots to the donkeys. Let's build a carrot shop and get the donkeys to come to us. Yes, sir. That's exactly what they figured out. That's exactly what they figured out. That's a good analogy. I love it, bro. Payment XRP says, I've been using your chat with GPT and spreading the news about MXRP. Nice. And what it says in the fine print that the investors have no right to the underlying assets when crap hits the fan. Yes, sir. It's important. What they relied on is liquidity of U.S. investors and the naivety of U.S. investors. That's what they were relying upon. They sought out those people desperate, in my opinion, for XRPL metrics and sold them on this thing. XRPL metrics plus desperate for XRPL metrics, desperate to say a project to say they got another partnership, that kind of stuff. And they fed on that. They fed on it. So here we wait just a matter of weeks before STXRP or Firelight launches. That, in my opinion, will be the move for most people. Abundance King, what's good, bro? Appreciate you checking in. Yeah, for me, I've always said that. Look, for me and my XRP, I'm hopping on Flare because they have proven out to be committed to trustless, true decentralization, true scalability, true security in a non-custodial manner. Did it take longer, or does it take longer to build something out like that? Yep. Yep. But when you get it, it's awesome, baby, with a capital A. And that's what we got. So for me and my XRP, it'll be on Flare for sure. Has been minting, lending. It will be with Firelight. For me and my XRP, that's what it'll be. Cash flow around it without having to sell if I don't want to sell. Hey, I may want to sell some, but I won't have to sell 90, 50, 60, 80, 90% of it. Cash flow is going to be the answer. In my humble opinion, cash flow is going to be the answer. But people have to make their own decisions. People got their own stuff, got their own needs. Some will think that being in dollars, not stables, but in dollars to go do something is what's best for them. Some of us will think that there's a small window to acquire as many valuable assets in this new financial system as humanly possible. Because a new financial system is, in fact, being built out. Bottom line. Because the situation with the dollar is not going to change in terms of that debt. You know, what we've got building out will help some. Oh, nice, Crowbilly. Really? Nice. Just need 7K more. I hear you. Yeah, Matt LaRoche, that was great to see. I see they are finally starting to acknowledge state connectors and the superior tech rather than old bridging tech with this susceptibility to attacks. Yeah. I heard the Midas guys were somehow maybe involved with that loss as well. They haven't said anything. Of FLR, right? Crawbillies? Sweet, bro. Sweet. Sweet. I'm happy for you, man. I'm happy for you. So there it is, fam. I wanted to share that with you guys. I hope it makes sense to you. Do me a favor and hit that like button on the way in. If you didn't get a chance to do so on the way out, that'd be awesome. When I'm at dash to 10,000 subs, let's get the word out. One of the better ways to do that is hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel because there's a new financial system being built. I'm alarmed that the amount of 25 to 35-year-olds do not hold any crypto. I'm just, it's alarming. So we can change that one person at a time, one new person of crypto at a time. And the best way to do it, again, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so that you know whenever we go live or whenever we upload a video. I'm going to end this one like I do all my videos and remind you guys of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I, we're already winning. And I would ask you to consider this or perhaps ponder the idea or notion of living your life permissionless. I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya. Bye.